Welcome to the online tutorial of how to clean up a white background for a botanical or natural science illustration. Hi, my name is Mindy Lighthipe, and today I'm going to go through this process with you because it seems to be something that we as botanical and natural science artists come across very frequently when we're trying to scan our work and get it cleaned up for reproduction, slides, and even for posting on websites. So basically what I have done is I used the Epson Perfection V500 photo scanner to scan in this painting of the mushrooms. I am working in Photoshop Elements. I think it's version 9, and I am working on a Macintosh computer. So basically I simply went up to the file and I clicked on New and selected this image and brought it up. One of the first things that I do when I'm looking at my work on the computer screen is I look for the composition of how it was scanned in. Currently I can see that from the rulers up here on the top and on the side that the image is approximately 8¼ by 11½. And the first thing that I'm going to do is that I notice that there's a small space here and a disproportionate space over here. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the crop tool and I'm going to make it smaller. So I simply am going to come over to the toolbar, which is on the left hand side of the screen here, and by hovering over the tool you can actually have the computer will actually tell you that this is the crop tool. So if you're not sure where it is or what it looks like, you can go down the toolbar and just by hovering over any of these it'll tell you what it is. So I'm going to click once and this will activate the crop tool, and then I'm going to come over to the image. Well, actually, I'm going to go over to the toolbar up here, and this little palette will open up. And one of the things that is important is that I want to keep the ratio of the painting the same. I don't want to all of a sudden elongate or stretch the mushrooms. I want them to stay in the exact proportion that they're in now. This would certainly be something that would be very important for scientific illustration, where size and proportion matter the most. But for this painting I also feel that it's important. So what I'm going to do is I've actually selected one of the preset options, which is an 8×10, which is a standard sized image. And if I decided that I wanted to make it more of a custom, I could come over here to where it says width and height, and I could actually set that there. The other thing that I want you to pay close attention to, is the fact that you have here resolution, and you want to keep it at 300. The original painting was scanned in at 300 dpi, which refers to dots per inch, and this is important because this is a large file and this is something that would be used in reproduction. So if you're interested in reproducing your work, I highly recommend 300 dpi is your standard setting. Don't go lower and don't go higher. Just keep it at 300. It is an industry standard. So now that I have chosen an 8×10, I'm going to come in and you'll see that the crop tool appears when I place my mouse cursor over the painting. And I'm going to start up on the left hand corner, and I'm going to press the mouse down and scroll diagonally, and you can see they're called marching ants. Will begin to show you an 8×10 version of the painting. As soon as I release my finger, you'll see that the image that you're going to crop has a little marching ants with little boxes around it and a little window on the bottom with a green check mark, or a red image here is where you can either cancel and start again, or you can click it and commit to this particular crop. if you don't like what you have, you can simply grab any of the corners or any of the little boxes that you see here, and you can make it bigger or smaller. And you really haven't done anything, you haven't made a permanent decision. So by playing with this option here, you can pretty much say, okay, there's too much negative space up here. I think I'd like to crop it down a little bit more. And as you mess around with it, you can decide what you like and what you don't like. And so I'm basically thinking that I'm going to come to maybe about like that. I still have a little bit more, so maybe no, I think I like a little bit higher. So as I see, you could play with this forever and not make a commitment. Notice that right in this section here, I've gone off of the canvas. And one of the things that I was concerned about when I first started was that there was a disproportionate amount of space from here to here. And now it looks like by adding this a little bit, I will actually add a little bit more negative space, and you'll see what happens when I double click on that. So now that I've made the decision as this is the format and scale and size that I would like, I'm now going to either, you can come down and, as I said, check the green, or you can simply come in here and double click, and what will happen is you will actually see that the image is the size that I wanted it. It is now 8 by 10. So if you look here at your ruler, it's 8. And if you look over here, it's 10. The other thing that you'll notice is that when I expanded the canvas size, there's this little white strip. Before it was gray, but you actually I'm going to actually come in here and zoom in, and so that you can see it a little bit better. So I'm going to go up and click on the zoom tool and come over to the painting, and wherever you put the tool, it actually will blow up that little section, and you can see. So what's happening here is you can actually see that this is the area that I expanded the canvas to, and it's perfectly white. And then you can see here, this is very gray. So one of the things that we want is a perfectly white background. And as I sort of scroll back and forth, well, actually by blowing it up, we see here that yes, we have the proverbial cat hair. I am an artist who lives with 9 cats, and they are always very interested in what I'm doing. So invariably there's either cat hair in the paint or it gets on the scanner. So one of the things that you do want to think about is possibly cleaning your scanner before you do any kind of scanning, or using a dust something. But anyways, it's invariable that I'm going to have cat hair, so this is one of the things that I can show you how to clean up once we get past this. So I'm now going to come in and that really magnified it. I'm going to come in and make it smaller. So let me see, if I hit the shift button, let me see. Okay, actually what I did was I hit the option, and as I click on it, it will slowly get to be the size that I can work on. All right, but maybe I'd like to have it just a little bit bigger so that I can see what I'm doing. All right, so the first thing that I'm going to do to clean up the background is I'm going to go into up here on the toolbar, it says Enhance. And when you click on Enhance, you have several options. And one of the things that I really like is to adjust the lighting and go over to where you see levels. You can play with any of these at any time, but I find that levels for me works the best. So what happens here is there's a box that comes up, and what you'll see is there's a little black arrow here, a medium gray, and a white arrow. And basically what this is doing is the white is for the white tones, the gray is for the middle tones, and the black is for the darks. So I also have here that the preview button is checked, so that I'll be able to see the adjustments that I'm making as I actually do it. So because I want the background to be whiter, I'm going to actually take this little white button and I'm going to move it over. Now see, if I move it too much, look what happens to the image. I mean, it can be pretty scary. All of a sudden you had this great image where you could see your mushroom, and because this is a fairly light painting, it's just brightening all of the whites. And you'll also notice that the screen where that screenshot was of there being this extra white space, that's gone. And so this is not acceptable. You can unclick your preview button and it'll go back to the way it was, and you can click it back and say, oh, this is just awful. So I'm also going to come back and slide this back. And you see here it was at 255. You can also, if you can't get control of this sliding bar, you could come in here, highlight, and maybe put like 240 and see what happens. It seems like that has done a better job for me in terms of the white. It seems like there might still be a slight line here. The other thing is that the middle tones, maybe they've paled out a bit, and so I can kind of darken this. Now, I think that's severe and too much, but I want to keep that soft area, and so I'll do that. And I don't know, let's see what happens when I do a little bit of the dark. So you can see that towards the bottom it got a little bit darker, and this is actually looking quite nice. So what I'm going to do, and you can always check. So if I uncheck, this is what it looked like, and this is what it now looks like when I've enhanced it with levels. The other thing is that having the painting in front of you, you can decide how accurate what you're seeing on the screen is actually what you're seeing in the painting. So if this is too punched up, you obviously would not want to misrepresent the painting, so you might back it off a little bit. So I'm just going to back. I think my painting is a little bit lighter, so I'm just going to come in a little bit like that. All right, so basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to click OK, and now I have the image where I feel that the colors are doing pretty good. I still have a slight image here of that line, and my background is not as white as I'd like it to be. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I'm going to look for the magic wand tool. So as I begin to go down the toolbar here on the left, this little thing here is the magic wand tool. I'm going to simply click on it once, and then I'm going to come up to this toolbar up here, and it has a lot of default settings. And one of the things that is one of the most important things is that the tolerance is 32. Now, for some reason, as I scroll over it, it keeps saying scan 8 TIFF at 25%. But what I really want you to notice here is that this is the range for sampling your color. The 32 is basically telling you that it's going to sample pixels that are in a 32 pixel tolerance, meaning that they're similar to each other. So anything that's in you could think of it as a value range that are within a 32 pixel, it's going to select for you. So one of the things I'm going to do is, because I want to clean up this white space, I'm going to click on that with the magic tool, clicking once, and you'll see these little marching ants that go around, and you'll notice that they are all the way around the mushroom, and this part here is graphite, and then there's my signature, and there's this little area here, and that's actually a speck of dust, which I'll show you how to fix in just a minute. So basically what I have here is a great area. I'm going to show you what happens if I change this tolerance and I go to, let's say, 75. Okay, and then I come in here and I click again. what has happened is the tolerance, the number of pixels that are adjacent to each other and similar to each other is 75. And I've picked up all kinds of areas in the interior of the mushroom, which I don't want to lose that information. So this is pretty crucial. You may have to play with the tolerance level. So I'm going to come back in here and change it back to 32 and come in here and reselect it so that I'm not losing any of the information. That would be very important. So now that I have this selected, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm simply going to hit the delete button. And that might seem like a little bit of a scary thing, but basically what I have done is I have deleted all of the information in the background to white. And so my background is, voila, it is white. But I also have a couple of spots here and some stuff down in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to zoom in, and I'm going to use the eraser tool next. So before I go to the eraser tool, I'm just going to simply, you can see that the icon has changed from my mouse. It's no longer the little wand. It's this little arrow and box here. I'm going to simply click once. When I do that, the marching ants go away and the area that was selected is gone. So I now can come over to the eraser tool, okay, and I click on that once. And one of the things that is very difficult to see is how am I going to be able to get in and see if the image, you know, where these little specks of dusts or the cat hair, it's no longer visible. So before I go into the eraser tool, I'm going to go back up to the zoom tool. And I'm actually going to start by zooming in so that I can see where the areas might need to be cleaned up. And this has actually done an excellent job for me in cleaning up. I'm using the little wheel to scroll and come down. And I know that there was somewhere where I saw some dust. So I'm going to continue to, okay, so here we go. Here's something that I don't particularly want in my scan or in my final piece. So I'm going to come over to the eraser tool, and you can see up here that there are settings. So you can choose the kind of brush that you want. There are default brushes or sorted brushes, anything that you want to do. And there's also the size of how many pixels it does at one time. So if you set the brush size, you can come in here and you can play with that. You can also look at, there's different types of things. A pencil is more like a line. The brush, I prefer to use the brush. And what you'll see here is it has become a circle. Now what that circle is representing is that there are actually 13 pixels selected at one time to be erased. And if I had a large area, I probably would want a larger brush. So that's where I would come in here and I would scroll on here, and you can see that the numbers are changing. And as soon as I bring the tool back onto the painting, you'll see that it has gone from 13 pixels to 89. And I literally will come over the area that I want and I will click on it and scroll it around, and voila, it's gone. Now when I come down into here, I can see that my pencil, it actually is looking pretty good. But I want you to take notice to this little area here, and I'm going to come back to my zoom tool and I'm going to blow it up a little bit more, and this is where you can see whether I've painted inside the lines. It's a little scary when you see something blown up this big. But one of the things that has happened is I believe that there was maybe a little pencil line here when I was painting, and I didn't really get in and paint right to the edges of my drawing. And I don't really like this. I feel that if I were to print this or to look at it large, that it's something that I would rather just delete. So I'm going to come back over to the eraser tool, and obviously if I come in here and I click on this, I'm going to erase a part of the painting that I don't want. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to go back up to the size of the brush, and I'm going to come down to something that would be a little bit more manageable. So maybe like, back to our default that was originally at 13. And I'm going to use the mouse, press it down, and begin to sort of clean some of this up. You could get absolutely crazy and start trying to fix every little thing. I suggest that you don't do that. One of the things that you can do to see how well your scan is to do a print. And then you can scrutinize it. But you could spend hours upon hours upon hours trying to scan, trying to clean things up, and you could only just waste your time and end up wasting taking out information and getting very frustrated. So I'm just sort of going through the entire scan here and using my mouse, scrolling back up and down, looking for any little particles of dust that may need to be cleaned up. And it looks like I've actually done a great job at cleaning this up, or actually Photoshop. Now, one of the things that we have here is that my name, my signature, has not really come out as nice as I would like it to. You can actually see that the inside of the G did not get hit with the tool because the pixels on the outside were darker. And I think at this particular point I am just going to erase my name. Okay. I can always scan my signature and place it in later on, but for these particular purposes I would prefer not to have my name in there, so I'm just going to come in and erase it. So what I'm doing is I'm actually holding down the mouse and I'm just sort of moving it back and forth like you would a regular eraser, and now my signature is gone. So, and these don't really, this is sort of a ethereal graphite to just ground the mushroom in the original painting. So I don't feel that it's important to really necessarily do anything about that. But I'm still going to just scroll up here and check out, make sure that the information is there. And let's see. It looks like it's pretty good. All right, so now let's address that cat hair. I think that that would be important. Certainly if I was going to produce a print of this, I would not want to send a customer any kind of a print that had a cat hair on it. So if I come in here with the eraser, I'm going to end up with white space underneath. So I really don't want that. That would be catastrophic. Haha. Anyways, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the clone tool. And the clone tool is a very interesting tool because basically it takes an area of your painting and it duplicates it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually click on the clone tool, and I'm going to come over to where the hair is, and on the Macintosh, I'm not sure what it would be on a PC, I'm going to hit the option. When you hit the option, what it does is it gives you sort of like a bullseye target that you would see on like through the scope of a rifle. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take a sampling of the area, and since we want to keep this very close to this pattern, we basically want to continue this line across. I'm going to click a sample, and then as you move this over, you will see how the clone tool actually is eliminating the cat hair. Oops. Okay, so what I've done here is it actually moved it over because my tool, the size of the brush is actually too large. Right now I'm working on 21 pixels. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to come in here and I'm going to set it a little bit smaller. So maybe let's go with 10 or 12. All right, so I'm going to come back up here and I'm going to hit the option key. I'm going to start out a little bit further away, and I'm going to move this back and forth. Okay, now see how that we're going to have to come back and fix that in a minute. But see how I'm able to get rid of that cat hair, and I can come in and sample another area here. And now see, I don't like that, so I'll come in and I will sample and get rid of. So each time you see that little target coming up, it means that I'm sampling another section. And so rather than try and do it in one clean full sweep, I'm doing it a little bit more piecemeal and being a little bit more careful so that I can get rid of that cat hair and not mess up the lines that in the painting I was trying to keep a steady hand, and I certainly don't want to start altering the painting so that it doesn't look like it's the original thing. So in here I would want to come in and possibly bring this back up. So again, you could see how you could become completely fanatical and start messing around and altering your painting. I do not suggest that you alter it too much. You try to keep it to the original, because if you're looking to get into juried shows, they're going to look at that. And when they look at the original painting and they see that it doesn't look like the scan that you've sent them, chances are, your piece may be rejected. So you need to be careful about that. And so I think that I pretty much, well, as I said, like, you could sit here and fuss. I think this is just about where I want to be. Okay, so now I'm going to come in and I'm going to make the image smaller so that I can see the whole thing. And I believe that was done with the Option key, the same key that you used. Okay, so as I make it smaller, the cat hair is gone, and I now have a nice clean image. That basically is it for today. I hope that you have enjoyed this. Actually, I thought it was going to be a short tutorial. It ended up being about half an hour. But I hope that you learned something from this, and my recommendation is that you continue with this. If you have questions, please feel free to go to my website, www.botanicalartpainting.com, and send me questions. I'd love to hear from you, and if there's anything that I can do to help you out, would love to do that. You can also purchase my ebook, which is basically shows you how to scan and piece larger images together. I hope that this tutorial has helped you, and until the next time, I'll talk to you soon, and happy painting. Take care. Bye.